Welcome back to the deep dive. I want to start today with a bit of a confession, actually.
Oh, okay. I'm listening.
I was looking through the stack of research we have for this deep dive, articles on behavioral psychology, social dynamics, all of it. And I realized I have been operating under a false assumption for probably 20 years.
That's a strong start. What was the assumption?
That attractiveness, and I don't just mean romantic attractiveness, I mean the whole package, the ability to draw people in to get hired, to get that promotion,
Right.
is mostly genetic.
Right.
You're either born with a jawline and the height or you're not.
Yeah.
Or you're born with that kind of class clown charisma or, you aren't.
The it factor, the thing you can't quite put your finger on.
Exactly, the it factor. But looking at all this material, it seems like that is fundamentally wrong. Or at least it's only a tiny, tiny part of the picture.
It is a comforting myth, isn't it? If we tell ourselves it's all genetics, then, well, we don't have to try.
Yeah, you get a pass.
You get a pass. But the research we're diving into today argues something much more interesting and frankly, a bit more demanding.
How so?
It argues that what we call magnetism is actually a skill set. It's a series of signals you broadcast, mostly unconsciously, by the way, that tell the world how to treat you.
And we're not talking about, like, wear a blue shirt because it implies trust or that kind of surface level stuff.
Oh, much deeper. We are leaving the physical surface behind entirely. This isn't about fashion tips. We're talking about the psychology of presence.
Present.
How you occupy space, how you handle conflict, and specifically, and this is key, how you metabolize the emotions of the people around you.
That phrasing really stuck out to me in the reading, metabolizing emotions. It sounds so scientific, almost medical.
It is. In a way, it's an active process.
But before we get to the how, we have to address the when, because there's a statistic in here that is, well, it's alarming. The 7-second rule.
It's brutal.
Is it really that fast? 7 seconds. I feel like I haven't even taken my coat off in 7 seconds. It just feels incredibly unfair to judge a complex human being that quickly.
It feels unfair, but we have to look at the evolutionary biology here. It's not personal, it's survival. Our brains are, at their core, prediction machines.
Yeah.
So when you walk into a room, the primitive part of my brain, the amygdala, is instantly scanning you. Is this person a threat? Are they a resource? Are they high status or low status? It's making 1,000 little calculations.
Without me even saying a word.
Without you even saying hello.
Right.
And once that snap judgment is made, it acts as a filter for everything that comes after.
So it's a cognitive shortcut.
Precisely. It's a heuristic.
Yeah.
And it's powerful. If I decide you're low status or uninteresting in those first 7 seconds, everything you say after that is filtered through that lens.
So if I tell a joke,
If you tell a joke, and I've already categorized you as boring, I might not even register it as a joke. I might just see it as awkward. But if I've categorized you as charismatic, I'll laugh at almost anything you say. The halo effect.
wow. So if I fumble the entrance, I'm fighting an uphill battle for the rest of the hour. That sounds completely exhausting.
It can be, but, and this is the really good news buried in all this data, that judgment isn't based on your bone structure. It's not about the genetic lottery.
Right.
It's based on your energy. It's
Yeah.
based on tiny micro behaviors. And you can change those this afternoon. You don't need 6 months of Invisalign or a personal trainer. You just need to tweak the signal you're broadcasting.
Okay, so that's the mission for this deep dive then. We want to decode those signals.
Yeah.
We've got, 6 specific areas to cover, ranging from how we speak to how we handle an argument.
That's right.
And I want to start with the one that I think causes the most anxiety for people, the interest paradox.
Ah, yes. This is the big one. It addresses that fundamental anxiety of, what do I say?
I think everyone knows this feeling. You're standing outside a party, or maybe it's a networking mixer, you're, checking your teeth in your phone's reflection, and you're thinking, I need to be impressive.
I need to perform. The spotlight is on me.
I remember reading this anecdote about a guy who would literally memorize fun facts from the internet before dates, just so he wouldn't run out of things to say. And I laughed when I read it, but then I realized I've done that.
We all have.
I've preloaded anecdotes. I've rehearsed my coolest moments in my head on the way to the event.
We all have, because we think social value comes from broadcasting. We think if I'm the most entertaining person here, if I have the best stories, people will like me. It's what the research calls the firework strategy.
The firework. Okay, break that down for us. What's the mechanism of the firework?
Well, think about what a firework does physically. It shoots up, it explodes, it's loud, it's colorful, it demands your attention. Look at me. Look how bright and amazing I am.
And it works. For a second, everyone looks
For a second, it works. You get the attention, but what happens after the explosion?
It's gone. It burns out.
It burns out instantly. And once it fades, the audience is just standing there in the dark, craning their necks. It was a passive experience for them. They were just spectators to your show. And here is the psychological catch. Humans hate being spectators in a conversation. We are fundamentally egocentric creatures. We all want to be the show.
So by trying to be the star, we're actually depriving everyone else of the thing they secretly want most, which is to be the star themselves.
You're sucking all the oxygen out of the room. The alternative, and this is the habit of the truly magnetic person, is to stop being the firework and start being the spotlight.
The spotlight.
If you're a spotlight, nobody's looking at you. The beam is coming from you, but they're looking at what you're shining on.
You're illuminating the other person.
You are taking that beam of attention and you're turning it completely outward.
Okay, but I have to play devil's advocate here. Because be a good listener is advice we've heard since kindergarten. It feels a little passive, a little weak even.
I'm glad you brought that up.
If I'm just standing there shining a light on someone else, am I not just the sidekick? Don't I risk becoming the boring background character while they have all the fun?
That is the common fear. If I'm not talking, I'm invisible. But what we're talking about is so much more than passive listening. Let's look at the mechanics of what happens when you do this well.
Okay.
There was a case study in the notes about a woman at a high-level workshop. She wasn't the loudest. She didn't have the craziest startup exit story. But by the end of the weekend, she was the person everyone wanted to sit next to at dinner. Everyone wanted to talk to her.
Why? What was she doing differently?
She wasn't just listening in the passive, cool sort of way that's being a doormat. She was doing what psychologists call active constructive responding.
Okay, that sounds technical.
It just means she was building a map of the other person's world.
Building a map? I like that. Unpack that.
When you ask someone a question, most people ask factual questions. Where are you from? What do you do? How long have you lived there?
Right, it's like an interrogation. Or filling out a census form.
It is. It's data entry. It's boring for you, and it's boring for them because they've answered those questions 1,000 times. The spotlight approach asks emotional questions.
Emotional questions, like what?
So instead of what happened next, you ask, how did that feel when that happened? Or what was the hardest part of that for you? Or even just, and then what happened? But with real, genuine curiosity.
You're pivoting from the external facts of the story to their internal experience of it.
And that is addictive for the person talking. Think about it. In our modern world, we're constantly scrolling, constantly distracted. How often does someone sit across from you, lock eyes, and genuinely ask, how did that feel? And then wait for the answer?
Almost never.
It's incredibly rare. And when it happens, it triggers a dopamine release in the brain of the speaker. It makes them feel important. It makes them feel like the protagonist of their own movie.
And if you make them feel like the protagonist,
they automatically cast you as the essential, brilliant co-star. They associate that good feeling, that dopamine hit, with your presence. They walk away thinking, wow, that person is fascinating.
Even though you barely said anything about yourself.
You might have said 10 words in 10 minutes. But because you allowed them to be their best, most interesting self, they project that brilliance back onto you.
It's a transfer, a psychological transfer.
It's a complete transfer. You become the mirror that reflects their best angle, and people love the reflection. They can't get enough of it.
So, practically speaking, for the listener who is going to, say, a dinner party tonight, the advice isn't shut up and nod.
No, absolutely not.
The advice is hunt for the feeling.
Hunt for the feeling. If someone says, I just finished a huge project at work, don't say, cool, what was the project? That's a fact question.
Okay, what do I say?
You say, wow, you must be so relieved. Did you get to celebrate? See the difference. One asks for the project specs. The other asks for the human emotion.
That's a small tweak. But I can immediately see how that changes the whole temperature of the conversation. It moves it from, like, resume mode to human mode.
Instantly. And resume mode is never attractive. It might be impressive, sure. But there is a huge difference between being impressive and being attractive.
That is a distinction worth underlining right there. Impressive is cold, attractive is warm. Okay, so that's the foundation. We're interest-focused, not interesting-focused.
Exactly.
But this idea of validating people, of making them feel seen, leads us directly into the next section, which is about how we give praise. Because the material suggests that most of us we're terrible at giving compliments.
We're lazy at it. We give what I'd call junk food compliments.
Junk food compliments. What's that?
Nice shoes, great haircut, cool watch.
Hey, I like being told I have a cool watch. What's wrong with that?
Sure, it gives you a little spike of sugar. It feels good for a second. But why is it junk food? Because it disappears in 5 seconds. It has no nutritional value. And more importantly, it's not really about you. If I say, nice watch, I'm complimenting your purchasing power. I'm complimenting the designer who made the watch. I'm not connecting with your character.
It's observational, not relational.
Perfect way to put it. To be magnetic, you need to shift from complimenting the visible to complimenting the valuable. We call this the high-value compliment.
Give me an example of the difference. Because I think people get stuck here. They want to be deeper, but they don't want to sound cheesy or, creepy.
That's a valid concern. It's about specificity and sincerity. You don't want to overdo it. But look at the example that was in the Sork material. Someone said to the narrator, I feel safe when I talk to you.
Whoa. Yeah, that hits different. That's heavy.
I feel safe when I talk to you. Just think about the layers in that statement. It's not about what you're wearing. It's not about how witty you are. It's about your fundamental character.
It says, I see your patience. I see your lack of judgment. I see your kindness.
Exactly. You're telling them that you see the effort they put into being a decent human being, and it's working. That is a compliment that sticks to your ribs. You remember that 5 years later.
You do. You absolutely do. Because it validates your identity, not just your appearance. Most of us are walking around sort of wondering, am I a good person? Am I doing this right?
We all are.
And when someone looks at you and says, you make me feel safe, or I really appreciate how patient you are, they're basically answering that deep, unspoken question for you.
They are. And here is the selfish reason to do this, if you need one. The material called it the boomerang effect.
Yes, the status signal. I love this. Explain that. How does complimenting you raise my status? It seems counterintuitive.
Because when you give a deep, insightful compliment, it reflects back on you. It says more about you than it does about them, in a way.
Oh.
Look, if I say, you have a great laugh, that's nice, it's fine. But if I say, I really appreciate how you always make sure to include everyone in the conversation, it makes the whole room feel so much warmer. What does that say about me?
It says you're observant. It says you value inclusion and kindness. It says you have high emotional intelligence because you notice the social dynamic of the room in the first place.
Exactly. Only a high-value person can spot high-value traits in others. It's like being an art critic. To praise a masterpiece, you have to have good taste yourself. So by giving the compliment, you are subtly signaling your own status. You are saying, I am a connoisseur of good character.
That is fascinating. So the formula here, if we can boil it down, is say what you felt, not just what you saw.
That's it. I felt inspired by your story is infinitely better than, that was a cool story.
I felt so much clearer after you explained that, Beats. You're smart.
100%. The first one is a gift of your emotional response. The second one is just a label.
It requires you to slow down, though, doesn't it? You can't just drive by with these kinds of compliments. You have to actually be present and paying attention.
And that brings us right back to the first point. You can't give a soul-level compliment if you aren't really listening. It all connects. You have to be watching the person, not the persona they're putting on.
Watch the person, not the persona. I love that.
Yeah.
Okay, let's shift gears a bit. We've talked about how to listen and how to compliment. Now I want to talk about how to ask. Because this next section, the slippers versus shoes metaphor, this one called me out personally.
This is all about the language of confidence, and specifically how we unintentionally sabotage ourselves the moment we need something from someone else.
Let's set the scene. You're at work. You need a favor from a colleague. Or maybe you're at a coffee shop and they got your order wrong. What is the slippers approach that most of us use?
The slippers approach is the over-apology. It sounds like this. Hi, so sorry to bother you. I know you're super busy, but if you have a quick second, could you possibly, if it's not too much trouble?
Oh, God. It's painful just to listen to. It's the verbal equivalent of slouching.
It is. Think about actual slippers. They're soft, they're quiet, they're slippery. You wear them when you're trying not to make noise, when you're trying to be invisible in your own home.
Right.
When you speak in slippers, you are signaling, I am a disturbance, I am a burden. Please forgive me for existing and needing something.
And the material says that people pick up on the status signal instantly. They hear that, and their respect for you just plummets.
Instantly. Biologically, we are wired to assess hierarchy. If you treat your own request as a nuisance, I'm going to treat it as a nuisance. You are literally telling me this isn't important, so I will prioritize it as unimportant.
But we do it because we want to be polite. We think we're being nice and considerate.
Mm-hmm.
If I just bark an order at someone, I'm a jerk, right?
That's the binary trap we fall into. We think the only options are doormat or dictator.
Right. Be a pushover or be a tyrant.
We think if we aren't apologizing for our own existence, we're being aggressive. But there's a huge, powerful middle ground. The shoes. Shoes have a sole. They have structure. They make a sound when you walk. They have traction. Speaking with shoes means using what we call direct politeness.
And what's that?
It's the simple, powerful combination of please plus a clear command or request.
Give us the shoe version of that previous request.
Yeah.
The one drowning in apologies.
Instead of all that rambling, you walk up, make eye contact, and say simply, "Hi, please help me with this report." Or at the coffee shop, "Excuse me, please remake this for me."
It feels naked. It feels so blunt.
It feels blunt to you because you are so used to hiding behind the sorry and the maybe and the if you don't mind, but try to hear it from the other side. Please help me with this. It's clean, it's respectful. It actually respects my time because it gets straight to the point.
And it signals that you respect yourself enough to ask for what you need directly.
Which makes me respect you more. It changes the whole dynamic. There was a great specific example in the notes about someone learning a language. A student who kept starting questions with, "Sorry, my English is bad, can I ask?"
Yes, I remember this.
And the teacher stopped him and said, "Stop apologizing for learning." And that is a life rule right there. Stop apologizing for being a beginner. Stop apologizing for not knowing everything.
That's a hard habit to break, though. I catch myself doing it in emails all the time. Sorry for the delay. Sorry to chase you on this.
There's a great trick for that. Delete the sorry. Replace it with thanks.
How does that work?
Instead of sorry for the delay, you write, "Thank you for your patience." See the shift?
Wow. Yeah.
Sorry for the delay frames it as a debt you owe. "I'm sorry, I'm at a deficit. Thank you for your patience." Frames it as a gift they gave you. It acknowledges them while keeping your own status high.
Thank you for your patience. That is so much stronger. It implies my work is worth waiting for, rather than I messed up and I'm a burden.
It creates a totally different psychological frame. And confidence, true confidence, isn't about knowing everything. It's about being comfortable with what you don't know. If you walk into a meeting and say, "I don't understand this, please explain it," that is confident. You aren't scared of looking dumb. You are focused on the goal. And that is incredibly attractive.
It's efficiency mixed with dignity.
Efficiency mixed with dignity. That's a great way to put it.
Okay, let's pivot to something a bit softer, but I think equally powerful. We've talked about confidence. Now let's talk about connection and vulnerability. Section 4 introduces the backpack metaphor. This is about what happens when someone else is vulnerable with us.
This is a critical test of magnetism. It's easy to be charming when everyone is joking and the conversation is light, but what do you do when the mood drops and things get real?
Right. So imagine this scenario. A friend or a colleague tells you something personal. Maybe they admit they made a mistake at work. Maybe they share a fear they have about the future. They drop a little piece of honesty on the table in front of you.
And the mistake most of us make, often because we're uncomfortable or we don't know what to say, is we just nod and say, "Yeah, that's tough," and then we immediately change the subject.
Or even worse, we immediately try to fix it. The fixer instinct.
"Oh, the fixer instinct is so strong. Oh, you messed up the spreadsheet. Well, here's what you do. Did you try opening the backup file? You should use this formula instead."
We go into school teacher mode.
Yeah.
We correct them. We offer solutions.
Exactly.
But why is that bad? Isn't helping someone a good thing?
Helping is good, but timing is everything. The material compares that moment of vulnerability to someone handing you a small treasure, a beautiful, delicate gemstone. They have taken it out of their deepest pocket and handed it to you.
Right.
If you immediately start telling them how to polish it better, or if you just glance at it, say nice, and toss it in your backpack and keep walking.
Thanks, bye. Conk.
You didn't value it. You didn't hold it up to the light. You didn't appreciate the gesture. And that shuts the person down. They think, okay, that wasn't safe. I won't do that again. The neurochemistry of trust is completely halted.
So how do we hold the treasure? What does that look like in a real conversation?
The shift is to pause and hold the moment. Do not rush to the next topic. Do not rush to give advice. The first step is to simply acknowledge the gift of their trust.
The scripts provided are really simple, but they feel so effective. Things like, thank you for sharing that with me.
So powerful. Or, that means a lot that you tell me that. I appreciate you trusting me.
You're not even commenting on the content of the secret yet. You're commenting on the act of sharing it.
Yes. It's the open door analogy from the notes. Validation is like opening the door to your house and letting them walk in. Ignoring it or rushing past it is like waving at them through the window but keeping the door locked.
I really like that. It's about hospitality,
Yeah.
emotional hospitality.
Emotional hospitality. That's exactly what it is. When you say, I appreciate you trusting me, you are signaling that you are a safe harbor. And in a chaotic, judgmental world, the person who feels like a safe harbor is the most attractive person in the room. Period.
And this applies to mistakes, too. If a friend admits they messed up, our instinct is often to correct them, to show how smart we are or how we would have done it differently.
Which kills attraction. Nobody is attracted to the school teacher in a social setting.
So instead, we should just pause and say, hey, thanks for telling me. I totally get that. That sounds stressful.
You're validating the act of telling you rather than judging the content of what they told you, and that builds massive, massive trust. If I know I can tell you my secrets and my failures, and you will treat them like treasures, not like trash, I am going to want to be around you all the time.
It goes right back to that safety compliment from earlier. You actually become the person who makes them feel safe. It's all connected.
It is. It's all one big system. It's about removing the friction of judgment and increasing the flow of acceptance.
Now, speaking of friction, let's talk about when things get heated. Section 5, emotional maturity in conflict. Because, let's be honest, it's easy to be charming when everything is going well.
It's easy to be attractive at a cocktail party with a drink in your hand. It is very, very hard to be attractive when your group project partner is 3 days late with their part, or your spouse forgot to pay the electric bill, or someone cuts you off in traffic.
These are the high-stakes environments. The material calls this the moment where buttons are pushed, and this is usually where the mask slips. We lose all our charm and, we become toddlers.
We revert to our most primal instincts. Fight or flight. We snap. We get passive-aggressive. We withdraw and give the silent treatment.
And the metaphor here is watering the plant. This one really stuck with me.
Yes. Imagine the relationship, whether it's with a colleague, a partner, or a friend, is a plant in a pot. It's something living that you both care about.
Okay.
When conflict happens, when an argument starts, you have a choice. You can pick up the pot and throw it across the room.
That's snapping, yelling, insulting. The classic, you always do this, or you're so inconfident.
Right. And you might win the argument in that moment. You might prove you are right and they are wrong, but you've shattered the pot. The plant is dead. The relationship is damaged.
So what's the alternative? You can choose to water the plant. Even while you're arguing. That seems impossible.
Especially while you are arguing. Watering the plant means nurturing the relationship even when the content of the conversation is difficult.
So what does that sound like? Because I can't imagine saying, I love you so much, while I'm furious that you deleted a file I was working on. That feels completely fake.
No, it's not about fake niceness. That's a great point. It's about a very specific technique. Validation without agreement. This is a crucial distinction for listeners to get their heads around.
Okay, break that down. Validation without agreement. Give me a scenario.
Let's use your example. You and I are working on a project. I accidentally deleted your file. You are understandably annoyed, but I get defensive. I say, well, you didn't name the file correctly. It's your fault.
Okay, and my instinct is to immediately say, yes, I did. I followed the protocol. You're wrong and you're not listening.
That is throwing the pot. You are invalidating my reality. You're escalating. And what happens? I dig my heels in. I fight back harder. The conflict spirals.
So what is the watering the plant response in that moment?
You pause. You take a breath.
Yeah.
And you say something like, look, I can see you're really frustrated about the file naming. It makes sense that you'd be annoyed if you felt the instructions weren't clear.
Oh, you're not saying you're right, the instructions were bad. You're just saying, I see your frustration.
Exactly. I understand why you feel that way. You are validating their emotion, not their version of the facts. This is a power move. It demonstrates what the research calls instant emotional maturity.
It really de-escalates things, doesn't it? It just takes all the wind out of the sails of the conflict.
It does, because most of the time, people want to be heard more than they want to be right. Once they feel heard, okay, he sees that I'm upset, he's not just attacking me, the temperature drops, then, and only then, can you solve the problem.
And here's the kicker. Kindness in conflict is not weakness. It is power.
I think that's a huge misconception people have. They think if they're nice during a fight, they're being a doormat. They think they need to dominate the other person to be respected.
The opposite is true. Losing control is weakness. Screaming is weakness. It shows you have no emotional regulation. But staying calm, validating the other person, keeping the relationship safe while you discuss the problem, that is incredible strength. That is what the material calls the deepest presence.
And that is what people remember.
And they will remember. Long after they forget what the argument was about, they will remember, wow, he didn't attack me. He listened to me. He stayed kind even when I was being difficult. That creates a deep, lasting respect.
It creates loyalty.
And loyalty is a form of magnetism.
It's like being the emotional adult in the room.
Be the emotional adult.
It's rare, and because it's rare, it's incredibly attractive.
Okay, we're coming into the home stretch here. This has been so good. We've covered being interested, giving compliments, confident speech, vulnerability, and conflict. Now let's talk about how we wrap things up. Section 6, the bookends of interaction entrances and exits.
This relies on a core psychological concept called the primacy and recency effect. We remember the beginning and the end of any event much more vividly than we remember the middle.
The material uses the chocolate cake analogy, which I loved.
Right. Imagine you go out for a meal, the appetizer is okay, the main course is fine, nothing special, pretty forgettable. But then for dessert, you are served the most incredible, rich, perfect slice of chocolate cake. You take that first bite and you just say, wow.
And you leave the restaurant thinking, that was great dinner. The cake changes the whole memory.
Exactly. The ending rewrites the memory of the entire experience. The brain prioritizes the last emotion it felt.
So applying this to social interactions, it means we have to stick the landing.
We do. We touched on the entrance, those first 7 seconds, that's the appetizer. But the exit, the chocolate cake, is where most people completely fail.
How do people usually exit conversations? What's the common mistake?
They just fade out. They start looking at their phone. They say, okay, we'll see ya, while they're already walking away. Or they do the Irish goodbye and just vanish from the party without a word.
It's a fizzle. It's an anticlimax. And it leaves the other person feeling sort of discarded. Like, oh, I guess the conversation just died and now you're leaving.
Right. To be attractive, you need a deliberate, warm exit. You need to make the goodbye a distinct moment of connection, not just a slow fade to black.
So what does that look like in practice? What's a good exit?
It's so simple but so intentional. First, stop moving. Don't engage in the door handle conversation where you're halfway out the room. Turn back, make eye contact, and say something simple and sincere.
Like?
It was really great talking to you, Sarah. Thanks for your time. I really enjoyed this. Using their name is a bonus point.
So mean it.
And mean it, of course. The goal is to leave them feeling like you were really there. Not just physically present, but emotionally present, right up until the last second.
It's that after feeling we keep talking about. You want them to walk away with a little bit of a glow.
That after feeling is the definition of your personal brand. It's the emotional residue you leave on people. If the very last thing you do is make them feel seen and appreciated, that is the feeling they will carry with them until they see you again.
It seems so manageable when we break it down like this. I mean, it's not about being the funniest person in the room or the smartest. It's just about being the most present person in the room.
It's all about intention and attention. That's it.
Let's do a quick recap, because we have covered a lot of ground today.
Yeah.
And I want to make sure these concepts really stick for everyone listening.
Let's run through the checklist.
Okay, number 1, the interest paradox. Be the spotlight, not the firework. Hunt for the feeling. Ask, how did that feel for you? Instead of just exchanging facts.
Number 2, the high-value compliment. Move beyond nice shoes. Compliment their character, their vibe, their values. I feel safe with you. Beats. You look hot every single time.
Number 3, confidence in speech. Trade your slippers for shoes. Stop the over-apologizing. Use please plus a direct request. Please help me is so much stronger than sorry to bother you.
Number 4, handle vulnerability like a treasure. Don't toss it in your backpack and move on. Pause. Acknowledge the trust they've given you and open that emotional door.
Number 5, emotional maturity in conflict. Water the plant, don't throw the pot. Validate their emotion even if you disagree with their facts. Always, always be the emotional adult in the room.
And finally, number 6, the chocolate cake exit. Don't fizzle out. End with intentional warmth. Leave them with a great taste in their mouth.
And none of these things.
Yeah.
None of them require money. None of them require genetic gifts. They just require you to care enough to pay attention.
And that leads us to what the research calls the no six-pack required philosophy. It's funny, we started this deep dive talking about how scary the judgment of others can be, that whole 7-second rule. But after going through this list, I actually feel incredibly relieved.
It is liberating.
Yeah.
It really is. Because I can't control if I'm having a bad hair day. I can't control if I'm not the tallest guy in the room, but I can control if I truly listen. I can control if I say please instead of sorry.
You're taking the power back. You are defining attractiveness on your own terms, based on your behavior, not your biology. And honestly, this kind of attractiveness lasts so much longer. Looks fade, gravity wins eventually.
It always does.
But the ability to make people feel seen and safe, that never ages. That only gets more powerful and more valuable with time.
So here is our final provocative thought for you to chew on as you go about your day. We often walk into a room thinking, I wish I were more attractive. It's a very self-centered wish. It's all about me.
The reframe, the shift is this. Stop asking, how can I be more attractive? And start asking, how can I be more present, more kind, and more real?
Because if you answer that question, if you genuinely focus on being present and kind and real, the attractiveness happens automatically. It's the byproduct, not the goal.
Attractiveness is simply the energy you bring and the feeling you leave behind.
I love that. So here's your challenge, your takeaway. Pick just one of these habits, just one. Maybe today you focus on the shoes versus slippers speech. Maybe tomorrow you try out one of those spotlight questions on a colleague. Just try one. See how the energy in the room shifts.
Be the scientist of your own social life. Run the experiment. See what happens.
Exactly. And let that after feeling you leave behind be a good one. Thank you for listening to this deep dive. Go out there, be magnetic. We'll see you next time.